motion in your steps.
Motivation in your heart.
Hello, and welcome to today's Motion and Motivation podcast. I'm Jack.
I'm Mary. Comment, share, and kick off our motion today.
Ever find yourself totally sucked into a speech, even if you don't agree with what they're saying?
It's happened to all of us, right?
Yeah, what is that? That's the power of why. And that's what we're diving into today with Simon Sinek's Start With Why.
Yeah. It's really a classic for a reason.
It is. We've got some excerpts from Sinek's book, and we're going to unlock how some leaders, some ideas just stick with us.
They really do. And others, they just kind of
fade away.
Yeah.
They don't have that lasting impact. So one of the things that Sinek talks about is this idea of the biology of belief. And he contrasts Hitler's inauguration, which was full of pomp and circumstance, with Kennedy's, which, they both had this element of really trying to draw people in.
And they both did in very different ways, but both, as you said, spectacle, right? Yeah. Both showcasing how our brains crave that meaning, that why.
Even if what they're actually saying is scary, similar. It's we instinctively know, okay, there's got to be something more to this story.
Yeah.
And that's what Sinek says.
Mm-hmm.
People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yes.
And that's not just products, but ideas, leaders.
Everything, yeah.
Everything.
It's so true.
So how does that hit you? When you hear that, how do you process that?
Well, it all goes back to, that primal part of our brain, the limbic system.
Okay.
Where all the emotions live, right? Think about it, a gut feeling. That's your limbic system talking. And it responds to feeling, it responds to that why, much more than facts and figures.
Interesting. Okay, so how does, let's say, a company like Apple, I think we're probably all familiar with Apple in some way. How do they tap into this?
They have nailed the art of the why. I mean, they really have. It's not about having a sleek design or the latest tech. It's about challenging the status quo, you know?
Right.
People buy into that idea, that belief system, just as much as the product.
Yeah. So they're almost selling you a feeling, a sense of belonging even.
Exactly. They're selling you a feeling, a sense of belonging, a part of something bigger. And that's been their driving force for, decades now?
Yeah.
And Sinek contrasts this with the Wright brothers and Samuel Langley. Both wanted to achieve powered flight, same goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But vastly different whys, right?
Okay.
Langley, he had government funding, a team of geniuses, but he quit after a few crashes. He gave up.
Interesting.
The Wright brothers. They were fueled by this belief that flight could change the world, and that why, that kept them going.
That's so powerful, right? It's passion versus, I don't know, a well-funded project, but it didn't have that heart.
Exactly.
So how do we figure out our own why, though? Sinek has this thing, it's called the celery test. Have you heard of this?
The celery test. I love the celery test.
Okay, break it down.
Imagine your grocery cart, right?
Okay.
If it reflected your true values, your why, what's in it? Is it all aligned, or are there some things in there that are kind of maybe not so much?
Okay, so if I'm all about sustainability, but then my cart's full of single-use plastic.
Exactly.
Something's off.
Something's off.
It makes you think twice.
It does. It makes you think twice about those everyday decisions.
It really does. It's you're holding up your choices to the mirror, right?
Yeah.
Am I really living this?
Yeah. Exactly. And that idea of alignment, of your actions matching your beliefs, that ties directly into trust.
Okay, I see the connection here, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How does why build trust, though? Because we all know how important trust is, right?
Think about it way back when, ancient times, people relied on each other for survival, right?
Right.
Today, whether it's partnerships or even global movements, trust is built on that shared sense of values, that why. It's knowing that someone has your back because you believe in the same things.
Right. So it's not just about saying the right things. It's about that deeper
connection.
Yes, connection.
Shared purpose, it lets us accomplish way more together. And Sinek actually illustrates how these ideas spread with something he calls the law of diffusion.
Okay, the law of diffusion. I'm intrigued. That sounds kind of scientific. Break that down for me.
Okay, think of a bell curve.
Okay.
You've got your innovators, the ones who jump in first.
Right.
Then you have your early adopters and so on, right?
Okay, yeah.
The key here is those early adopters. They aren't swayed by mass marketing or fancy features. They're drawn to the why, those beliefs that resonate with their own.
So if you really want to get a movement going, You need to find those people
Yes.
who really connect with your mission.
You need to ignite that spark with the people who truly believe what you believe. And one of the best examples, like a classic example, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he articulated his why so clearly, right?
Absolutely.
A dream of equality resonating far beyond those who were directly affected by injustice. It sparked a movement. Why? Because it tapped into a universal human desire, a just world.
He wasn't just talking about policy, right? He was talking about
A belief system.
a belief system, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what gave it such power. But Sinek also warns us about what happens when that why gets lost.
Yes.
And it can happen, even with success.
It can. It's scary.
That's a scary thought, right?
Yeah.
Success leading you astray. Tell me more about this.
Take Walmart. Okay, they started with a very powerful why, right? Serving communities with low prices.
Right.
But as they grew, as they scaled, that focus shifted to sheer size, right?
Yeah.
Just out competing everybody. And that original why, it kind of got like
Diluted.
diluted, yes.
Yeah.
Leading to unhappy employees, customer issues, you name it.
So it's almost like they achieved the what?
Yes.
They got that massive scale,
Yes.
but they lost their soul along the way.
They lost their soul. That's exactly it. Sinek calls it the split.
The split.
When success becomes a downfall because that core why is overshadowed by profits, by metrics, by all that stuff, right?
Wow.
And it happens to people too. We get so caught up in achieving, we forget what mattered in the first place. But there's hope. Look at Steve Jobs returning to Apple in the late 90s.
Oh, yeah. Apple was in a slump then.
They were.
And they had smart people at the helm, I mean.
They did. But something was missing.
Something was missing.
And when Jobs came back, it's like he brought that laser focus on the why back with him.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it wasn't just about computers, right? It was about changing the world again. That spark was back.
So that begs the question, how do you make that why last, though? Even when the founder, that initial spark, moves on, how do you build that in, like bake that into the company's DNA? That's the question, right? How do you bottle that magic?
Well, Sinek talks about this, about the how. It's that practical side. You need that engine, right? The team, the systems, the structures all have to work together to take that vision and make it real.
So it's finding those people who not only get your passion, they have the know-how.
Yes. Those doers, right.
The doers.
And get this, one of the most interesting examples he gives is Bridgeport Financial. It's a debt collection agency.
Okay, now debt collection.
Right.
That's not an industry you usually think of, like inspiring mission.
Not at all. But their why was all about empathy, understanding, treating even debtors with respect.
Wow.
And they were crazy successful. I mean, like 300% above average.
Seriously.
Because they measured their success not just in dollars, but by how well they were living their why.
Okay, so that's proof that those values, it's not just fluffy stuff. No, it can really impact the bottom line.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just the day-to-day, you know? When you're thinking about leadership transitions, Sinek says, don't just find someone with the same skills, find someone on fire for that same why.
Someone who can carry that torch.
Yes, pass the torch. That's how you get that lasting impact. That why is so baked in, it outlasts any single leader.
This has been incredible, really eye-opening, going from the science of why, seeing it play out, I mean, even in surprising places.
Right.
But before we go, let's say we've got our why. How do we share that with others in a way that clicks?
It's all about clarity, consistency, and action. You can't just know it. You have to live it. It's got to be in everything you do.
Walk the walk, right?
Walk the walk. It's about that authenticity shining through. I don't care if you're building a company, leading a team, or just talking to your family. That's what matters.
I love it. Well, this deep dive has given me a lot to think about. Not just understanding Sinek's ideas better, but some real tools to use.
That's what we like to hear.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, keep that question in mind. What's your why?
What's your why? We'll see you in the next deep dive.